and welcome to WebEx 203 Advanced Hosting Topics. We're going to cover a lot in this session that we haven't covered in 201 or 202. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to go through 101, 201, and 202 at this point. If you have not, something that we need to do is get you into those things, watch some of those recordings online or take another class. That doesn't mean you can't learn some things here, but a lot of the things here are going to be based on things you already know and have already experienced in those other classes, because we're going to assume you have a certain level of knowledge. I will be asking at certain points for questions. Most of this is going to be me doing a demonstration for the first section of this class. And then after that, we're going to have some fun. Okay, so the topics we are going to cover today: a new piece about sharing audio and video and permissions on sharing your audio and video, ways that you can stop your participants from being able to do that or being able to try to write on your screen and that kind of stuff. We're gonna turn on and off some of those things so you guys can see how that works. We're gonna look at changing the preferences as far as what specific items are available to you in there and how those might be useful to you. We're going to look at how to change what everybody sees, which I'm going to do right now. You can see the effect of that. Everybody is now going to see me. So that's something I'm going to show you how to do, which can be helpful, especially if you're an instructor and somebody's rattling paper and you don't want to have to bother with muting because it's not really that loud, or something like that, or you want to make it so that somebody else is always on screen. You can do that. We're going to talk about polling, which you guys experienced at the beginning of this. We're going to talk about annotations, which we've experimented with a couple little times in some of the earlier sessions. We're going to really dig into those today. There's some meeting options we're going to cover, some privileges that we're going to cover, and the last topic we'll cover before we break out into our experimentation sessions is closed captioning. Oof, that one's going to be interesting. So we will talk about that and see what we can get done for you guys. So with that said, the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen. And if everyone can let me know if they can see my screen, there should be if you want to just type in the chat for me to let me know that you can see my screen, you should see a window with basically that blue-green background that Windows has, an h-do-test. Awesome. Very, very good. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with our first topic, which is the sharing audio and video. I'm going to move a couple of these things around so I can operate a little better. To do that, I need to start a meeting. And again, I'm using our test computer here so you guys can actually see the hosting side of it, since I can't show you the hosting side of it. And if I could get a couple of my IT folks to drop out and pop into our test session, that would be awesome. Another reminder we talked about before, mute on entry is something I love to do, and make sure that everyone comes in muted, and that's a very important thing. While we're waiting on them to come in, I'm going to go ahead and, as I'll always like to do, open up my participants and my chat window, and there is Linda. Thank you very much. I do appreciate you coming in. You can see by default that she is muted, and Dave McMurray. Yay! Got my two primary helpers in here. Awesome. So we talked about sharing audio and video. So there was a new thing that we found when we're talking about sharing our screen when we're going through here, and it solved several of the issues. I think Dave Parrish in specific, it solved some issues for him, and it'll probably be true for everybody. So if everybody remembers, down here at the bottom, you got all your menu icons down here. Click on that one for sharing, and at the top, and we talked about this in one of the 202s or the 201s, but we really didn't dig deep into it. You've got this drop down up at the top, optimize for motion and video, and optimize for text and images. The default is text and images. And if you don't change that, anything that you show, number one, it's going to be a little choppy, and number two, none of the audio on your PC is going to come through directly. What happened to us when we were doing the testing on this, even during some of our recorded sessions, the audio would come through my computer, feedback into my microphone, and what that meant is you had a disconnect between the audio and the video. So there was no synchronization. So it looked like it was an overdub. You know, if your mouth doesn't match what you're speaking, it's really difficult to look at, especially if that's critical to what you're trying to show to your participants or your students. So to make this work properly, you want to change this to optimize for motion and video and then it gives you that option to turn on or off, share your computer audio. As Dave Parrish experienced earlier today, if you do that, it's going to ask you to install some drivers if you're on a Mac. So if you're on a MacBook or something like that, it'll install some special drivers for you. If you're on a PC, I don't think it will. I think all that's kind of included in the desktop client. So just that little drop down makes a difference as to whether or not you can be successful in showing your video and whether or not your users are actually going to see what you want them to see the way you want them to see it. The next tip we have here deals with controlling your meeting. We talked a lot about that in 202. Here are a couple of things that we've learned as we've moved forward that we'll add to 202 the next time we do it. And that is being able to control what the participants can do. So right now, in this meeting, I haven't changed anything. I've left it all to default, which means anybody can share and anybody can start annotations and do all kinds of stuff. And that can be very, very disruptive in a meeting. So if we want to disable that, we go underneath participant and you've got anyone can share. So now this share button that's here should have gone away. Did that go away for you, David? Is that what that frown was for? Yeah, he was going to do something funny. So he can't share anymore. The other thing we can do is we can also turn off annotations and things like that. So underneath this participant area, we've got assign privileges. We have the ability to do all kinds of things in this assign privileges area, including control annotations. We can, as far as communication goes, we can turn off different parts and pieces of the chat. So we can make it so that they can only communicate with the host, they can only communicate with the presenter, they can only communicate with other participants, or they can't use the everyone channel. So we can turn all those bits and pieces on and off right here. So that can be helpful in certain circumstances. Again, in the advanced class, we're going to cover things that aren't always really useful to everybody, but I think that you'll find a lot of these things, at least they're really super helpful to know. So now if I go to this participants tab, I can turn off printing. I can not allow people to save. Now, I don't know very many cases in which you're not going to want them to save, but maybe you have a private meeting you're having and you're sharing some sensitive information and you don't want it to be able to be saved. You can do that. That doesn't stop them from taking their phone and videoing it. So I don't know where the save option is really good, but the annotations, you can stop them from annotating on a document, which can be very, very helpful. Then if I want no one to be able to see the participant list because they don't need to know who else is in this meeting, and that's really useful if you have a meeting with all over the whole state's going to come in. There's going to be 1,500 people in there, and it's going to be way too difficult to moderate that. You can just turn that off. And that, again, that may be an area in which you want to turn off some of your print and save functions or some of your chat functions, things like that. That can be really handy. So anyway, there's tons of different bits and pieces in here. You can turn off the ability to record or turn it on for everybody, that type of thing. This is going to go to every individual participant. I can also do that at an individual user level. So if I come and right click on Linda's name here, I can do assign privileges, and I have all these same options, but it's only for that one specific user. I can change this to just David McMurray over here, and I can make these changes just to a specific user. So maybe you disable it for everybody here underneath assign privileges, and then you may want to give that to a single individual over here. Maybe you want somebody to be able to record the meeting other than you. Maybe you want somebody able to do annotations other than you, but you don't want the general person that's in the meeting. So you turn it off for everybody, and you turn it on for that specific individual. Next is the preferences area. So we're in the desktop client. We can go underneath preferences, edit, and preferences, if you guys can see where I am there. This is personalization. So this is where you can have a little bit of fun. So if you get a message, right now it's set to only if I'm not viewing the chat panel, it will play a sound. It can only be the first message in a thread or always. So you can just change those. When do I get a sound for chat? Right now, by default, it's turned off, but I can turn it on. I can play that sound. Ooh, that's really loud. Again, as a presenter, I'm sure you guys may have heard that. You probably don't want that coming through your meeting. You can also pick any one of a number of different other sounds that are in there, and there's a ton of them. So you can pick any of the sounds that are in here. Some of these are ringtones, like for a computer or something like that. Those would be difficult to deal with as well because they're going to last a lot longer. So most of the time, you're not going to want to change these. But if you're feeling adventurous, get in there and play around with it. If you don't like what you made, don't hit apply. You're okay. Hit cancel. You can get out. As far as participants goes, you can change the sounds that it does. You can actually create a sound. This one I actually think might be useful, especially if you're running a small meeting. Create a sound when someone raises their hands. So if somebody raises their hands, it's going to play. That one's way too long. Pick a sound. Maybe you would just leave it at the default. I'm going to go, if I don't like the changes I made, I'm going to edit out, go back into preferences, and I'm going to leave it at the beep sound. And so now, if one of you guys raises your hand for me, well, it didn't play the sound I thought it was going to, but it played a sound. So good, thank you. Linda, lower your hand and see, there's David McMurray. And again, it didn't play the sound I wanted, which is interesting, but it can play a sound. I don't know why it's not playing the correct sound, but that's okay. So I'm just going to turn that back off. Again, that can be an interesting thing for you as a host, or maybe you're helping someone host. And those are all changes that you can do on your local machine. Whether or not you're a host, you can change some of those things. Another thing you can do is you can force the view to a specific individual. And that's one of the things I did to you guys is in our meeting, I basically pinned myself as the primary video that you're going to see unless I'm sharing a desktop. So I can click this little pin up there, and it's going to say, who do I want to lock the video view for? And I'm going to say everybody. And again, I have a small number here. If I didn't, I could search for a name. And I could say, okay, we're all going to see David McMurray regardless as to who is talking. So even if Linda's unmuted, and Linda, would you mind saying something? Oh, cute puppy. If your mic is working, hopefully. We may be having an audio issue. I don't know if she's in both meetings at the same time or not. Yes, we can. Very good. So even though she's talking, she doesn't become the focus because you can see the little pin there. David is pinned as the primary video. When you think immediately, because I clicked the pin before to see the menu, I would click it again. That's going to automatically unlock it and unpin David. I can mouse over and now click the ellipses, and I can go in and change that. And so I can change now, we see Linda. So I'm going to unlock that, and now it's going to go to whoever is speaking next other than myself. So David, if you want to say a couple of words.
This is Stella.
And you should see, yes, we certainly can. And it should switch back over to him. Of course, I think Linda's unmuted, so it may not. Say something again for me, David.
Hello, hello, hello.
There we go. See? So now we've gone back over to, and we see the very, very cute Stella in the frame. So again, that's a very, that can be very handy depending on what you're presenting and what you're not presenting. Something I've talked a lot about that we didn't get a chance to show you in all the different meetings, so I figured I'd cover it here, was being able to change your view. If you are not presenting your desktop, this can be very helpful. So I can go to active speaker view, and so I'm only going to see the active speaker. I'm not going to see any thumbnails down at the bottom. I can change to active speaker and thumbnails, and then I can see David's on the big screen. I can see Linda down there. If I mouse over again, I can go to grid view. This is great if you've got 6 or 8 people and you're having a meeting and you don't want to present a screen. Nobody's going to have a PowerPoint or any sort of video playing. It allows you to see everybody on the screen a lot easier because you're not going to focus on just the person talking. You can see everybody on the screen, and that makes it feel more like everybody is in the meeting and is presenting in the meeting. We've got a message down here from Brent saying that he cannot hear her. That probably is because she's in a separate meeting and her mic was a little bit low, so that's okay. Don't worry about that. Next is the polling stuff that we did in the beginning for you guys. So what I want to do is show you how to do a poll. Again, this is desktop client only. You can't do this from the web client. You click the 3 ellipses in your main menu down here, and you can click on polling. Now, this is not the most intuitive system to use. It's not hard, but it's also not very intuitive. So the first thing we have to do is create some questions. And this actually is open, and it's going to try to go to a file, and it's a poll file, and we don't have those right now, and I don't know how to create those, so I'm going to show you how to do them on the fly. You're not going to want to use this to create tests or anything, but if you have a few quick questions you want to ask your audience, this is a nice way to do it. So I have 3 different types: short answer, multiple choice with a single correct answer, multiple, well, not a single correct one, but a single answer they can pick, and multiple choice, multiple answer. And that's one of those things where you want them to be able to pick more than one option. So I'm going to click new to add the question. And I don't type a number or anything. I just start typing my question. I'm going to say, is the sky blue? And you'd think I'd have another way to add answers. I'm going to hit enter. It does not look like I'm adding an answer here, but I am. So I'm going to say yes. And now after I've added one, you can tell no. So I have an A, B, and C. I'm going to put, I don't know. So that is a single answer. I'm going to do multiple choice. And I'm going to say, this question. And then I hit enter, and I get to add those options. And this is a multiple answer, so you can see these are squares. That means they can put checks next to each one. And now I'm going to add a short answer. I'm going to hit new to add the question. And it's a short answer, so it allows everybody to do whatever they want to in there. I have an option to record individual responses. And if I click that, I'll be able to download the results of this poll and be able to see what the individual answers for. And again, this might be fun to do if you, what does everybody want for lunch? And so you put up a few possibilities up there, and you can record those individual responses to make sure the correct person gets the correct bits and pieces for lunch. Underneath options down here, you also do have some options here, and it's a timer. You'd think that says 5.00 minutes. You'd think 0.30, my number lock was off, 0.30 would be 30 seconds. It is not. I think you have to translate into decibels. So 0.5 is half a minute, which is 30 seconds. 0.1 is a tenth of a minute, which is 6 seconds. So we're going to give them 30 seconds to answer these, and you can, let me move that out of the way. You can hit open poll, and now the poll is open, and you can see the timer down here at the bottom, and the answers are coming in. Oh, we do get a short answer. Now I could go ahead and close the poll, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wait for the answers to come in. We have one finished. Everybody has started, as you can see. And we can see the results here. Is the sky blue? One no answer. Is Mr. Robot the best show ever? One yes, one no. I think that person on number 2 was wrong. And on why, did either one of you guys type anything there? You did? Very good. So I'm going to click individual results. It's going to pop open here, and this I can save. And I'm going to scroll down. Got both A and B. Why? We got hacked. And why what? So again, we can see those 2 answers here, and I can save these. I can save this web page. Probably just copy and paste is the easiest thing. So I can Control A to highlight everything, and I can copy and paste that out. And I believe that I can click right here for save to download those, and then I can save them underneath my documents. That's going to be an ATP. So you could write your poll up, not have it answered, download it, and then you could upload it during your meeting if you wanted to do that. From Jay Jones, I didn't get the poll. We're not sending it out to the meeting that you guys are in. I've got this test meeting with just 2 folks in it, and they're the ones that actually get this poll. So I save that. Now I can save the results as well. Save that. And now we'll go have a look in my documents folder, poll results, and they're all laid out for me right here, including the answers to the questions and the individualized answers there as well. So that's your polling function. Again, I know that's a quick overview, but this is recorded, so you guys can go back and take a look at this later. The best way I can encourage you to learn is to actually go out and do this. We're going to do this in just a few minutes. We're almost to the end of the presentation pieces here, but I want you guys to go in and give this a shot. So I'm going to turn off polling. I'm going to go underneath here and turn this off again. And so now I've just got my participants and my chat window open down here at the bottom. Now, the next thing we're going to cover is annotations. And again, we have kind of covered this before, but I want to there are several different ways that this can be approached. So if I don't have any, if I'm not sharing anything, I can make a whiteboard. So again, if you guys remember, I said this earlier, we have to go to optimize for text and images, and then I can click on new whiteboard. And then I have an option for colors. Pick a color. And if I click just the pen, I've selected the pen, but it always defaults to this really big, large, almost a highlighter size pen. And I can move the highlights around if I want to. If I click the little arrow next to it, I can change to a pencil. Now, what I will tell you is this. The whiteboard's really super difficult to write on. I would not recommend using it to write formulas or anything like that. You do see our other folks are in here and they can share in the whiteboard. And if I didn't want them to, I would be able to go in here and uncheck allow to annotate. And now you guys can't write, is that correct? Yes, they're saying they cannot. So I'll turn it back on so you can. I'm not going to be mean. I'll give you the privileges that you need. And so they can write as well. Above that, we've got the ability to create a rectangle. It's going to use the same color. So if I want a dark blue rectangle, I can now create another dark blue. You can see it's a different color. If I click the little arrow, I've got other shapes I can make. So I can draw an oval or several of these other shapes, which is nice. Check mark, very easy to do. If I want to do a line, again, I can change those colors. I can make it an arrowhead or a double arrowhead. The hardest thing to do is to make sure you're on that little right arrow to make it to those options. I do have text, so I can type in, no problem at all. I also have an arrow pointer. So if I'm trying to emphasize this, it's going to say who did it. And I can even move that around, or I can just click here. So you notice when I'm using the pointer, it's only going to do one time for my user. You guys should be able to do that pointer as well, Linda or David, if you would. And when you put your pointers out there, it's that one right there on the left-hand side, second from the top, and then you click for annotation, it should show up with your name on the pointer. Yep, there we go. There is Dave McMurray, and you can see he's moving his around. And I'm sure Linda's got hers there as well. Above that is the allow annotation, and this is where I could turn it on or off from here. Again, I could do that over here as well with a right click, or I can simply click this menu and turn annotations on or off there. That, again, that can be very handy if you've got a specific student. You say, okay, I want you to do this now. Allow them, turn everybody off, just turn that one student on, let them do their work, and then you can go over to the next student, etc. David McMurray says that he cannot erase my annotations. So that is a very good thing to know. So if I click on the eraser, can I erase his? I cannot get rid of your arrows. You guys draw something out there for me, and we'll see if I can get rid of it. There we go. And yes, so as the host, I have full privileges, and they are just continuing to draw things faster than I can erase them. So that's where you would say, all right, everybody stop it. Nobody's going to get to annotate now. And they all have to stop. If I want to save this beautiful work of art, I can click save. It's going to save that in a universal communications format or a PDF. I can pick which format I want, save that document. And now if I go to my documents folder, I've got a whiteboard PDF, and it's going to open up in PDF. And it's huge. I can't really see it all very easily here, but it is all there. So that's a nice way you can save that out. So what I'm going to do now is remind everybody how to get out of your whiteboard. I think we talked about this in most of our sessions. Oh, we can also name it. So if I click the edit button, I can say artwork. And so now I'm sharing the whiteboard called artwork. Now, if I do whiteboard again, now I'm looking at whiteboard 2. I can go back to artwork, rename this one. We can draw in this one. Everybody can annotate. The annotations, I think, pass between all the whiteboards. So if it's either on or off, it's not just on one page or not. So that's important for you to know as well. So if I want to close it out though, close, remove it from everybody's view. Do I want to remove it? Yes. Do I want to save it? No. Same thing for this one. It's already been saved. There have been no changes, so I can just close it out. All right. So that covers annotations on the whiteboard. The next thing I want to cover is annotations from having a file that's shared. So in order to do that, I need to go out real quick and grab a file. Let me go grab something real quick. We'll go to Google. And we'll look for flower. And I'm going to go to images. And I'm going to pick an image. And then really quickly, I'm going to save this picture. And we'll put it into my pictures folder. Now I've got that saved. Let's say I want to share that picture. I can share file. Again, I'm optimized for text and images, so it's the kind of thing I want to do. I'm going to share a file, and I'm going to go to my pictures, which is here. And now you can see, everybody can see the picture. And we have full annotation capabilities. If I click the little squiggly, we can annotate this all day long. I can change to text. This is a flower. And they can annotate as well. We can then save that when we're done. I'm going to go ahead and do save here. And it's going to save, I'm going to save it as a PDF. And if we go back and we look, I've got in pictures the original, but then I've got an updated version. It's in PDF that has all of my writing on it. See if I can, this is a flower. So that's a very handy thing, and I can close that out. Now, if I have shared a screen, I can also do annotations on the screen. Now that my menu's moved up top, remember, I can click annotate. And now on the screen, I can write. Make that where those guys can write if they want to get in here and play. I can draw all this stuff on my desktop. Whatever I want to do, and it works. Can we send files for participants to download? You know what? That's not one that I've tried to do. Let's see if we can figure it out. So if we save, can you guys download the file that's here? You have the save option down here at the bottom. If you go into annotations.
Yeah, we have that option.
But you can only save it as a UCF or a PDF, correct?
It's trying to save it as a JPEG.
It is. Okay, that's different. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to see if I can create. I think I can do. I don't have Word installed on this computer, but I do have WordPad. And so I'm going to come in here, testing. I'm going to insert a picture just so I have a picture that I can insert, and then I can save this underneath my documents folder. And what happens when I share this guy? Can we make it so that you guys can download this file? Let me go back to my documents. There's the document. So you guys can see that. What do you get? Can you download that document in any way, David?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, it tries to save as a UCF.
Okay. So you can't save it in the original format. We'll look into that though, Min, and see if we can come up with
Or a PDF.
or a PDF. Yeah, the UCF or PDF. We'll see if there's another way, and if so, we'll send out some additional information on that. It's a very good question. So now the next thing we have to cover is that's pretty much everything for annotation. So you can annotate on whatever is on the screen, basically. We can annotate on the pictures, we can annotate on documents, we can annotate on your shared screen itself. So if you want to draw attention to something, you can just draw a circle around that one thing. If I wanted to have just a little bit of fun here, I could turn on my annotations and take a screenshot Let's see if I can get out of there. I can't do that here because I don't have everything. When recording a meeting, are the files that you created also saved? If you, they'll be on the screen. Dave asked that. Parrish asked that question. The files themselves, I don't think are saved necessarily because they're assuming you have a copy of those. But I think you'd have to keep those separately manually. That's correct. But we will look into the file piece of this to see if there's a way to actually have files in it. The next thing I want to cover for you guys is the meeting options. So this can be really handy to lock down your meeting. Again, it's one of those kind of security things. So in here, I can turn off, allow participants to turn on video. And it's kind of sounds weird, but if you uncheck it and I hit OK, nobody can share video, including the host, including me. So that may not be something you want to do, but you can turn that off. More things underneath here. You can turn off chat if you don't want to use it. Don't recommend that really, but you don't want to do that probably, but you can. You can do notes. You can turn that on or off. And if it's on by default, everybody can take notes. We talked about that in 201, but we have discovered you can actually have a single note taker. So by default, it'll be the host, but you can assign that duty to another person and they can take notes that'll then be available for everybody to download. And we'll do that in just a minute. File transfer is an option we can turn on or off. We got to figure that one out. And UCF, Rich Media, that's that UCF format that you should be able to download and view files of all different kinds. There's also closed captioning. We're not going to do that right now. We will cover that in just a couple of minutes, though. These other options aren't things you really need to worry too much about. So what we want to do now is take a look at your notes option. So if I right-click Dave McMurray's name, I can make him a host or a note taker. Now, normally this note taker is grayed out, but because I said a single notes taker here, I can make him the note taker. And then David will be the only one that has the option to do notes. Like right now, everybody does. So I can take notes here, but David will be able to take notes that are available to everybody that's attending our little test meeting right here. So that is something you probably won't need to use very often, but I did want you to know that function is there. We're going to go back to allow participants to make notes, and now we're going to turn on closed captioning. So this is where things are going to get a little fun. Closed captioning is not useful in this format for the most part. Microsoft Teams has auto closed captioning, which actually works fairly well, but we can't get students in there, so it doesn't do a whole lot of good. What we can do with closed captioning, if you have someone that is dedicated to typing captions and you have somebody that's not talking too fast, I don't recommend doing this as the presenter. You need a second person that is dedicated to doing nothing but typing those closed captions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make David McMurray our closed caption person. I'm going to change his role, closed captioning, and now he will be able to type stuff in. He's got a little window he can type in, basically just like you would type in notes. And he's got a publish button right down at the bottom. When he clicks publish, right, David, you're going to be able to see those notes coming here. I can't type anything in that closed caption window. It's just going to show up. So if David's going to type everything I say, type everything I say. He's got to click publish. Say you can see that that's not very useful. Somebody's got to speak really, really slowly, or somebody's got to type way faster than I type. So David does that. Again, he has a publish button, not a save button. I have a save button, and I can save those closed captions so I can read them. But I think it's very good. So yes, no problems, Jones. We'll make sure we get that information for you. And again, thank you for those kind words as well. Thank you, sir. So what we'll have to do is, again, Microsoft Teams captions are automated and they are funny, but they work really, really well. We'll cover that when we do training for Microsoft Teams another day. And hopefully Microsoft will correct it so we can get students in there. So if you do have someone that needs it, we can do it. Can someone go back and later add closed captioning? Not without a lot of video editing skills. You can record the meeting, have an MP4, and then you can, with a video editor, go back in and have somebody type up type the closed caption information and have somebody add that as they go along. That is a huge chore. And for every 1 minute of your video, you're probably talking about 5 minutes worth of work. So I would most certainly not recommend trying to do that. If you have closed captioning needs, we'll have to discuss how to handle that. I know we have a couple of classes that have it, and that's something that we're looking into. I know, Tina, it would be really awesome if it did work that way. So that's closed captioning. It's not there where we really want for it to be, but it certainly is functional. So with that said, does anybody have any questions about the material that we've covered so far? Feel free to unmute yourself, do a raise hand, or send in a chat message. Dave Parrish mentions YouTube's closed caption tool, maybe something that we can use. The auto closed captioning from YouTube is atrocious. So somebody would need to go back in and clean it up. Yeah, David, have you seen the auto closed caption from it? It is awful. Microsoft Teams actually is fairly good, but the YouTube one is, my experience with it has been really, really awful. Any additional questions, guys? That's true, Dave. Dave says, but it does get you started, and that's true. It gives you a starting point. It does. But you're still probably looking at 2 to 3 minutes for every 1 minute of video, because you're going to have to review the video, pause it, go clean up the closed captioning, and then review the video, pause it, and it's going to take quite a while. Trust me, I've been there. I've done it. All right. If no further questions, then what I want to do now is I want to move into the practice session. So I'm going to close out of this window right here. I'm not going to bother with saving those files. And we're going to be back in our regular meeting. And I am going to pass the ball around. I'm going to ask for volunteers first. So notes saved and allowed to view it after meeting today for host only. No, if you have typed up your own notes when you leave the meeting, it's going to ask you to save those. And it'll save those in a folder that's got the name of the meeting and who the meeting was with and the date and time, so that you can go back and view those later. They'll be saved in that one directory. So I need a volunteer. So let's use the raise your hand feature. Hopefully you're using the desktop client. Tina, all right, Tina. So what I'm going to do is I am making you the presenter. So now what I want you to do is I want you to share your screen. And when you share it, take us to a web page.
Okay. Okay. Take you to a web page. Okay. I was gonna upload a poll.
Oh, okay. You can do that too. Just let's do this first, and then you go ahead and do a poll.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, I know before I could only share with Chrome. Can I share with Firefox now?
Anything that is on your screen can be seen.
Awesome. Okay.
So you chose screen. Now, if you choose the application specific, if you choose something that says Chrome or something like that, then you can only share that. That's all anybody will see. Again, the danger of putting that into a one is you can get gray boxes over things. If you share your screen, everything on your screen can be seen, and any application that you're using can be seen.
Okay. So can y'all see my screen now? Are y'all seeing? Go to the library's webpage.
We're getting text comments that everything you're showing can be seen.
Yay!
All right. So now go ahead and unshare for me.
Okay.
And I'm going to, let's see, I think you have to be the host in order to do a poll. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not.
Let me see. No.
So you can do a poll right now?
I don't know. I hit the button. Okay. Let me see if I can, new poll. I want to save the poll questions. No, I don't want to save results. If I can add, upload a poll.
You probably don't have one that you can upload. It's the new.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do? All
Oh,
right.
I do.
Very good. She was ready for this.
Remember, I've been doing this since the summer.
You got that's true. You guys have been using WebEx for quite some time.
Yes. Okay, there you go.
All right.
And okay, so can you see the poll?
Not yet. I can't. Now I can. Guys.
Oh, I gotta open it. There we go.
Awesome.
Okay, so there it is, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
It does bounce around a little bit, but then I'm still the host, so I'm seeing the results as well. So it flashes around on the screen, makes it hard for me to complete here. So I'll just leave it. Now, one thing to note, guys, if you can't read the question, you may have to click on the question itself, and it will show you the entire question in a little pop-up window there, which can be really handy. All right, now I'm curious now, if I move the presenter to someone else, I cannot do that until the poll is closed. I was
Okay.
wondering how that would work.
Okay.
You guys remember when we talked about passing the ball in hosting 201? I cannot pass that ball until the poll is closed. So I'd have to ask Tina to close the poll. Now, if Tina has got into my meeting and she is being ornery and she doesn't want to close the poll, I can always kick her out.
Yes.
And then I'd
But
get
I will
that
be nice
presenter
and
ball.
close the poll.
Well, thank you. And so then I'd be able to pass the ball. So pass that ball. Let's see. Let me know when that poll is closed, please.
Yes, I'm closing it. It says I've got 11:10, gives 9 seconds. It's giving me a countdown. So it's got 6, 5. It gives everybody a few seconds to finish. And there, now it's closed.
Awesome. So now I change the presenter down to Mr. Dave Parrish. So Dave, I don't know if you want to share your screen real quick.
Sure, be glad to. Oops, sorry. There it is.
And so Dave has tested with us earlier today, actual running local videos off his machine and running YouTube videos. If you use that option that we showed you guys earlier to change from optimized for text and images to optimized for video and audio, you're really going to see a huge difference. It's actually going to work. Right, Dave?
Absolutely. I do optimize for video and audio right now, so let me show what happens if you don't choose the proper setting.
So if you have a video or maybe you're trying to take somebody to a YouTube page and get them to watch a video, it's going to be a little bit choppier and you're not going to be able to hear the audio. And so Dave will walk us through that real quick.
Yeah, let me find the video real quick.
In the meantime, can I get someone else to raise their hand? I'm going to make you guys the host and let you take a look at unmuting and muting stuff. Who would like to give that a shot while Dave's running through this? Nobody?
No audio.
Voluntold.
Audio.
No audio at all, sir.
The selection for sharing screen is not optimized for video, and the share computer audio was not selected.
We talked about that just a little while ago, so that's something very important to know. So, all right, nobody is doing this. I am going to make Sarah Jolly the host.
Sorry.
And so, Sarah, if you want to, oh no, thank you, Dave. And I'm going to make, let's see, I'm just going to randomly pick somebody here. Drag the ball down and see who I can find. see. Oh, I'm no longer the host. Guess what? I can't make anybody else the presenter. So that means Sarah. Sarah, are you there?
Here.
Very good. You have
Hear me?
control. You have control of this meeting.
Oh, okay.
So
Um,
if you look at your participants list, you can mute and unmute folks.
I just made it full screen on accident. Okay.
So you can mute and unmute folks. You can, I think you should be able to move the ball around and give it to different people. So if you look at Dave's name, you can drag and drop that down, say on David McMurray, because we know we can.
Well, I don't know what I did here. Okay.
Gotcha.
You should probably not make me the host.
That's exactly why we make people the hosts. Just if you're going to ever run a meeting, ever at all, ever, it's really handy to go through and do this. Do you have your participants window open?
Yes. But where do
Okay,
I
so you
find
should
the
see
ball?
Next to Dave Parrish's
Okay,
his
I
little
see it.
DP. Yep, just grab that with the arrows and drag and drop it down onto David McMurray's DM down there.
Oh, David McMurray.
And then it should ask you, do you want to make Dave McMurray a presenter?
Well, can't figure out how to scroll. I miss my mouse, you guys.
Oh, I understand. And yours may not be in the same order that mine is. I'm not sure.
Well, I can't figure out how to make it scroll through my participants.
Yeah, it won't scroll with that. You can right click, should be able to right click on David's name.
Okay.
And you should say at the very top item is assign role or something like that. Change role to, I think is maybe what it says.
Okay, you can just click on them. Passing. Okay, it should have passed it to him.
It sure did. And so now he
Has
can
the
present,
power.
he can share his screen. He has the power. He's He-Man. Is that who says that? I can't remember. Or no. That by the power, that's by the power of Grayskull. I don't remember. And so now he's sharing just a specific window. And this is where I wanted you guys to see. You see that gray box? That's what happens if you share an application sometimes, and I haven't been able to figure out why. We're going to work on that, and we'll send out an update on that when we figure it out. But that's exactly what happens on occasion when you share that. Now, David, I'm assuming when he shared this, did not change it to audio and video because we hear nothing.
Oh. Well, I don't hear anything either, so it might be just the video.
Ah,
We're working really hard in IT, guys. I've been watching cat videos like all day. Kidding.
obvious.
Herding cats.
Oh,
No, we have not been.
read through the lines. Yeah, I forwarded the lines to Jeff Pruitt, so he's been taking the help desk calls all day.
That's actually not a joke. Did for a short period of time.
You could hear the cows mooing in the background.
Yep. So, all right. Now,
Okay.
something that you guys don't see underneath the participant menu is reclaim host role. So I can grab that back, and now guess who has the power? Taking that back for myself, and I'm going to make John Dunbar the host. So John, you have the power. And John can mute and unmute
You
folks.
hear me?
We certainly can.
Okay. So I have the power.
You have the power. You should be able to click
Well,
that little.
you guys have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time.
So he can now the host. Remember, host is not presenter. Presenter is who is sharing, and so whoever decides to share can share their screen or share a whiteboard or something like that. The host controls the audio and can right click and kick people out of the meeting, that type of thing. So keep in mind, host and presenter are two different roles. Note taker is a separate role if you want to have a single note taker, as is closed captioning. Closed captionist is a separate role if you turn that on so that somebody can type those. But again, that's going to be really difficult, especially with somebody like me who talks too fast. That's it. We're at almost an hour. It's a little bit longer than our previous sessions have been. If anybody wants to play around, I'm not getting a lot of volunteers. I was hoping I was going to get some volunteers and some funny things shared and stuff, but I'm fine with going ahead and closing this out. Is everybody good? Any more questions? Everybody's like, this is being recorded. Do you really think we're going to be that silly on video?
A lot of material, Anthony. This is good.
Oh, good. I hope so. There we go. Professional cat herder. That is our new title across the whole IT. No, really, it's not like that. Well, thank you guys for coming. I'm going to close out our recording now as I bring me back to the host role. And what's interesting to note, it did continue to record.